After years of military service, I craved a quiet life, a place to unwind and pursue my passions without anyone breathing down my neck. So when I found a sprawling property just beyond the city's edge, nestled among dense woods and open fields, it felt like destiny. The land was perfect for my dream, a personal shooting range where I could hone a lifelong hobby in peace. The catch? It fell under the jurisdiction of a homeowners association, but the real estate agent waved it off as a dormant outfit, a dusty relic from when the area was first carved up. The rules were basic: keep your lawn tidy. Don't let your house look like a dump pan. The neighbors seemed to prize privacy over petty regulations. I thought I'd found my haven. I was wrong. Settling in, I got to know the community, swapping stories at barbecues and earning nods of respect from folks who valued my service. After a few months, I decided it was time to build my range. Shooting wasn't just a pastime. It was a discipline I'd mastered over decades, a piece of who I was. I didn't skimp on the details. I brought in experts to design a state-of-the-art setup: bulletproof berms, soundproof walls, clear signage, the works. Every inch was on my land, far from any neighbor's property, and I triple-checked local laws to ensure I was in the clear. When construction started, most folks were curious, some even excited. A few stopped by, asking about safety or joking about free lessons. But not everyone was on board. Whispers about noise or bad optics floated around, though no one lodged a formal complaint. I figured a little grumbling was normal and kept things respectful, expecting the dust to settle. Then I met Margaret. Margaret, though the neighborhood called her something less polite, was an HOA board member with a vendetta against anything that didn't fit her vision of suburban perfection. The day I tested the range, she stormed to my door, clutching a dog-eared copy of the HOA guidelines like a holy text. Her face was red, her voice shrill as she accused me of ruining the community's image, endangering kids, and violating vague aesthetic standards. My range was surrounded by woods, with no houses in the line of fire, and I'd offered safety tours to anyone worried. I invited her to see the setup, even sit through a briefing. She scoffed, declared guns had no place in a family neighborhood, and vowed to fix things through proper channels. I brushed it off, thinking she'd burn out. I underestimated her. Soon, letters from the HOA started piling up: vague citations for nuisance or construction noise, even after the range was done. Each one grew nastier, culminating in a demand to dismantle everything or face penalties. I hired a lawyer to confirm my rights. The range was legal, untouchable on private land. Armed with that, I attended an HOA meeting, laying out my safety measures, offering an open house for the community. I thought reason would prevail. Instead, Margaret rallied the board, pushing through a new rule banning shooting ranges outright, a rule clearly aimed at me. Despite my protests, they had the votes to pass it. I believed my range, built before the rule, was grandfathered in, so I kept using it quietly, staying cautious. But Margaret wasn't done. One weekend, I visited family out of town. When I returned, my heart sank. My range was gone, bulldozed into a wasteland of shattered barriers and torn earth. Deep tread marks scarred the ground. My signs were ripped down, my berms reduced to mud. An HOA notice, left on my doorstep, smugly declared they'd removed unauthorized structures to uphold standards, threatening fines if I rebuilt. They'd trespassed, hired contractors, and destroyed thousands of dollars worth of work without a shred of legal authority. Rage burned through me, but beneath it, a cold resolve took root. They'd crossed a line, and I wasn't the type to roll over. The violation wasn't just physical, it was personal. My sanctuary, my pride, had been gutted by bureaucrats hiding behind fake smiles. Sleepless, I paced my house, staring at the ruins. The next morning, I called a lawyer, not just any suit, but a pit bull who'd spent years crushing corrupt HOAs. He surveyed the wreckage, shaking his head. "They've overstepped," he said. "Trespassing, destruction of property, maybe even criminal mischief." We sued, demanding damages for the range, emotional distress, and a public reckoning. I thought the HOA would cave under the weight of their mistake. Instead, they lawyered up, dragging out the case with endless motions and delays, trying to bleed me dry. Fines poured in for property damage caused by my own range, for landscape disruption, each one more absurd than the last. At meetings, Margaret and her cronies mocked me, smirking about cowboys who didn't know their place. They thought they were untouchable, insulated by HOA funds and local connections. They were wrong. Digging deeper, I found a crack in their armor. The HOA was a non-profit corporation, not a government. Homeowners were its members, with voting rights to oust the board or even take control. If I could gather enough votes through proxies or property purchases, I could flip the table. It was a long shot, but the idea consumed me. I didn't just want money or an apology. I wanted to dismantle the system that let these tyrants ruin lives. I became a man obsessed, studying HOA laws, mapping the community, identifying allies. Many neighbors were fed up fined for trivialities like wrong-colored flowers or late trash cans. I approached them quietly, framing it as a fight for fairness, not revealing my full plan. Resentment against Margaret's reign ran deep, and behind closed doors, people were eager to listen. I also targeted delinquent properties, homes with unpaid dues or abandoned by owners. Each carried voting rights. Discreetly, I bought up debts, acquired properties, and secured proxies, using shell companies to hide my moves. I uncovered the HOA's dirty tricks: selective rule enforcement, rigged meetings, threats to silence dissent. Every revelation fueled my mission. After months, I had enough votes to force a special election. With trusted allies, I launched a covert campaign, spreading word through whispers and secret meetings. We had to stay invisible. Margaret's board would sabotage us if they caught on. Tension gripped me. Every board member's glance felt like a threat. But when we submitted the petition, it hit like a thunderbolt. The board scrambled, challenging signatures, trying to rewrite rules mid-game. My lawyer shut them down with countersuits, keeping the election on track. The week before the vote was brutal. Smear flyers called me a danger. Anonymous emails lied about my past. I stayed focused, rallying supporters. Election night, the community center buzzed with tension. As votes were counted, the board's faces paled. We didn't just win, we crushed them, ousting every member in a landslide. Cheers erupted. Margaret shot me a final glare before slinking out. The community named me president, a role I hadn't sought but accepted with pride. I vowed change not just for me, but for everyone they'd bullied. As president, I acted fast. In an open meeting, I fired every contractor and staffer tied to the demolition, savoring their shock as process servers delivered the news. A forensic audit exposed years of fraud, missing funds, fake contracts, money siphoned by Margaret and her allies. I handed the evidence to prosecutors. Soon, Margaret was led from her home in handcuffs, her reputation in tatters. Justice felt sweet, but I wasn't done. I rebuilt my range, bigger, better, with community backing. At the open house, skeptics left smiling, some signing up for lessons. I rewrote the bylaws, slashing vague rules, enshrining a homeowner's bill of rights to protect against future abuses. The neighborhood transformed, trust replacing fear. Word spread. News outlets dubbed me the man who conquered the HOA. Strangers wrote, asking how to fight their own battles. I shared my story, spoke at town halls, even pushed for state-level HOA reform. The fight taught me bullies don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they hide behind clipboards. Freedom isn't a gift, it's earned, defended tooth and nail. Standing at my reborn range, I fired a shot, the clang echoing not as violence, but victory. I looked at my neighbors, my land, our future. We'd won, and no one would take that from us again.